Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Viltrox AF 27mm F1.2 Pro XF. After a very successful 75mm Pro, Viltrox introduces the second lens from their high-end APS-C Pro line. This time they combine an interesting 27mm focal length with a very bright aperture. Viltrox has already proven that they can make glass that is good enough for a 40MP APS-C sensor, so the expectations are pretty high with this one. In this video we will take a look at 27mm F1.2 Pro in combination with Fujifilm X-H2 to find out whether you should consider getting one. 27mm on APS-C translates to 41mm full frame equivalent, which is one of my favorite focal lengths. In comparison to 35mm, it puts a little bit more emphasis on the subject. In my opinion, it is also significantly more versatile than a 50mm lens. It is probably the longest focal length that I would still consider for all-round use. It can be used for landscapes and cities, but also for portrait and even product photography. Now you can have this focal length in combination with a very bright f1.2 aperture for the first time. That further increases the versatility by adding an option to separate the subject and let in a lot of light. This lens is 9.2 cm long and it weighs 560 grams. It is not particularly light, but considering that f1.2 aperture, I would say that the weight is justified. It is a very good match for the X-H2, which has a nice grip, so the whole combination is not front heavy at all. The build quality is great, much like with other recent Viltrox lenses. The outer construction is completely metal, including the focusing ring. It is precisely made, feels very solid, and I can definitely say premium. It definitely punches above the price point in this regard. The mount is metal as well, of course. As you can see, there is also a USB-C port for firmware updates, which is very convenient. This lens is weather sealed and it has a substantial rubber gasket around the mount. It uses a 67mm filter thread, which is one of the most popular diameters, so getting filters for this lens definitely won't be an issue. A lens hood is included in the box. It is a standard plastic lens hood, it is sufficiently long and it gets the job done, so I have nothing to complain about. Regarding the control elements, there is the focusing ring and aperture ring. The focusing ring is sufficiently large. It uses focus-by-wire system, so it is completely smooth. There is a bit more resistance than with Fujifilm lenses, but that actually makes the focusing quite easy, so I probably prefer it that way. The aperture ring has clicks at 1/3 of a stop increments. The clicks are a lot less tactile than on 75mm Pro, but the ring stays in position with no issues and it makes the operation a bit quieter. If you prefer changing the aperture in camera, you can simply switch to A position and use the command dial. I have tested this lens with a 40MP sensor in Fujifilm X-H2. This sensor is extremely demanding when it comes to the optical quality of the lenses, so let's see how it works together. The central sharpness is once again excellent right from f1.2. This is as much detail as can be captured on this scene with a 40MP sensor. I don't see any chromatic aberration either. The contrast improves a little bit between f1.2 and f2, but it is very minor. The image quality then stays the same until f5.6. There actually seems to be noticeable diffraction as soon as f8, so use f5.6 as the sharpest point. There is a lot of diffraction at f11, which I recommend avoiding if possible. The corner sharpness is also excellent right from f1.2. Much like in the center, the contrast is maybe a little bit better at f2, but there isn't much in it. The corner sharpness stays the same until f5.6. You will get an excellent image quality in that range. The diffraction is again slightly visible at f8 and a lot more visible at f11. Viltrox AF 27mm F1.2 Pro is another X-mount lens that can take full advantage of a 40MP sensor. It is not that big of a surprise after the performance of the 75mm version, but yeah, great job. The results that I've been getting in the real-world use match the testing scene. Both stills and video show very nice micro contrast and overall rendition. Together with the color science in the X-H2, it produces very nice colors as well. This is also another lens that proves that 40 megapixel APS-C sensor makes sense, and it is possible to match this kind of pixel density. I'm not sure what is the situation with profile corrections, but the Lightroom says that the corrections have been applied in camera. There is no visible distortion. I don't see much vignetting either. There is a tiny bit from f1.2 to f1.4, so it seems that it is fixed in camera as well. The minimum focus distance is 28 cm, which translates to 0.15 times magnification. That is below average, but still usable for something like flowers or some types of product photography. The image quality at the minimum focus distance is really good though. The bokeh, on the other hand, is exceptional. You can get a lot of subject separation at f1.2 at this focal length. The rendition of autofocus background is very nice. The transitions between areas in and out of focus are very smooth, and it can handle outlines in the background very well. It has 11 aperture blades, which is probably the main reason for that. Overall, I like the bokeh a lot. That is another strength that it shares with the 75mm version. The autofocus in the stills mode is as good as with the latest Fujifilm lenses. It is very fast, very accurate, and there is no hunting. Low light and backlit situations are not an issue either. It definitely won't limit the autofocus system. Regarding the video autofocus, I think that there are some issues with pre-production firmware, so I won't be judging it at this point. It is still very fast and accurate, but the smoothness wasn't as good as with the previous Viltrox lenses that I've tested. I will also have to retest the X-H2 focusing after the firmware update to understand how it behaves. Importantly, the autofocus mode is almost completely silent. You can just about hear it when you are close to the lens, but it shouldn't be picked up by in-camera microphone or by shotgun microphone. The amount of focus breathing is quite significant. That means that this lens zooms a lot when you are focusing. It won't be a big deal for most users, but if you are doing a lot of focus pulling in video, keep it in mind. This lens is not stabilized. Fujifilm X-H2 has a great in-body image stabilization, which is more than sufficient for this focal length. As usually, static shots are very stable and the movement is very smooth when panning. Static shots are generally a big strength of the X-H2 IBIS, it may be the best system in this particular category, and 27mm focal length is perfectly within its capabilities. Last but not least, the price of this lens is very competitive. Much like with other latest Viltrox lenses, it provides first-party optical performance with significant discount, which is a very good thing for the whole X-mount system. To sum up, Viltrox AF 27mm F1.2 Pro XF is another great addition into the X-mount system. Much like the other two top-grade Viltrox APS-C lenses, 13mm F1.4 and 75mm F1.2, it is a new type of lens that wasn't available in the system before. The execution is very solid. Optical qualities are excellent. This is another Viltrox X-mount lens that can match a 40 megapixel APS-C sensor. 27mm focal length is in my opinion very interesting, and f1.2 aperture offers a lot of subject separation. The bokeh is outstanding, and so is the build quality. I've been getting very nice pictures out of this lens in combination with the X-H2. Two downsides are the focus breathing and the minimum focus distance, which is below average. As explained, I can't evaluate video autofocus at this point, so I will have to follow up on that later. Despite that, I think that making a 27mm f1.2 is a very good idea and the execution is very good overall, which means that I can recommend it. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you found this to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.